Okay, next question is, what is your advice for student retention? Now, this is a great question because if you're asking about retention, that usually means you have some of the front end stuff already figured out because students are coming into your gym and now you're just worried about why are they leaving. So depending on your academy, there could be a zillion, there could be a Brazilian different reasons why people are leaving your academy. And most of the time it's injuries. So hopefully it's just injuries. If people are leaving because of injuries, that just means that jiu-jitsu is kind of a tough sport and there's going to be some amount of churn from injuries. And churn is an industry word for losing a recurring revenue subject. So if they're churning out, it could be from injuries, it could be because they had a bad experience with a coach or another student. Maybe they just don't like your facility. Maybe it's dirty. Maybe they found something better. At the end of the day, if someone leaves, it's because they didn't like it enough. And it's important to take responsibility for that and not to take it personally and be like, oh, well, we didn't want them anyways, or they did this, or they went to go train another gym. And this is a trap that many gym owners fall into because students leave and then they see that they're at another gym and they instinctively cling on to the rest of their students and try and become very overprotective and don't go there and jealous, essentially like a jealous boyfriend or girlfriend. And it's kind of crazy that that can manifest in business, but it's one of the most common things to manifest. So it's good to be aware of your own psyche and try and observe yourself. Am I just getting jealous? Am I projecting my insecurities onto my students? And usually that makes it worse. It's if you're holding a palm full of sand, if you just let the sand rest in your hand, it doesn't go anywhere. But the more you squeeze, if you try and squeeze sand, the sand will all just fall through your fingers. It's actually kind of an interesting experience. You squeeze it and the sand falls out of your hand. That's very similar to how people are, because no one wants to be restrained, no one wants to be caged. Naturally, people are going to migrate towards the most freedom that they can partake in. So the way to maintain retention, of course, is to, one, try and focus on having a great product that's better than the other options available. And that's a lifelong quest. You can never achieve that perfection. Maybe one day you can dominate your market and no one ever leaves and you're just hyper successful. And that is the goal, obviously. And I think that is very achievable. But you must continue the quest towards providing the best service. However, to give you a valid, reasonable, and executable answer, the best way to build retention so that people don't leave is to build relationships with your students. Now, when I say relationships, that's a very tricky word because I don't mean become their friends. I don't mean get very personal with everyone. I think that's also a trap that a lot of gym owners and instructors fall into, and it's probably one of the most dangerous traps is trying to be everyone's friend. What I do mean is having your instructors and coaches be trying to hold your students accountable and trying to inspire them and trying to encourage them and motivate them to continue training jiu-jitsu. So that could mean having all of your coaches actively giving positive reinforcement, instructing your teachers or yourself if you're the one teaching, to make sure that every student gets some attention and some appreciation. And that could be through stripes. It could be through just saying, hey man, you did really good in class today. It could be texting them if they miss a few days and being like, hey bro, I noticed you haven't been in here. Is everything good? We miss you. Come back in. We want to train. People really appreciate that personal touch, and it's something that has to be actively pursued and managed as the business owner, and because it's not very common for if you have staff or instructors to willingly go out of their way to go that extra mile. But that is probably one of the most effective ways, is just make contact with people and track if people are not coming to your academy. If people are not using your product, that's a bad sign because it means they are at risk of leaving. And the true answer is it's all of those things. You need to do all of those things. You need to be providing encouragement, texting them, building a relationship, giving them appreciation and validation in front of their peers. That all has to happen. And then the second thing is injuries. So most injuries are going to happen in the early part of your training, which is when people are at most risk. They're a white belt. and they don't necessarily know how to move their body through space in a way that keeps them protected or protects those around them. So it is very important to create sort of a safe environment for beginners. And when I say safe, I don't mean like coddle them, but usually you don't want to have them do full sparring from the feet on their first day. And you don't want to have them go right into an intermediate class where they just get mollywopped for their whole first experience. Like, people don't like that. People want to have a natural progression into something. They don't want to get thrown into the deep end. They want to start in the kiddie pool and work their way up. So that, one, so they can feel a sense of progression, but also just two, so they don't get discouraged. Because that's what we're battling, is people's own insecurities, or their self-doubt, or they're just not having fun. Like, at the end of the day, this is for fun. People do jiu-jitsu because it's fun, and it's engaging, and it's thrilling, and exciting, and social, and all these amazing things. If it is not fun, you're doing something wrong. So try and keep it fun, try and keep it safe. And we have tactics and systems of how we do this in our programs, our affiliate and licensing programs. But the base idea is keep it fun, keep it safe, and people will stick around. And side note, never, ever, ever allow your instructors or staff to date your members. This is a disaster. And especially for owners and the head instructors, they really fall victim to this a lot and start to use their client pool as their personal dating, like their personal speed dating group. And unfortunately, there is a propensity for men to be attracted to the innocent, new white belt chicks. And this has like terrible, terrible effects. Like, I've seen so many gyms destroyed because there's an abuse of power when someone is in a position of authority, like an instructor, and women just can't help but be attracted to that. And the instructor is incredibly confident because he's literally like king of the mats. Everyone goes to him for all answers, and they're just like in this alpha male position that creates this really sticky situation. So just don't do it at all. That is not allowed. That's probably, like, if you're going to do one thing for retention, don't let people date your students, and don't date your students. Like, get a life, bro. Go to a club, go to a bar, go on Instagram, talk to someone who isn't paying you money. Because the quickest way to get them to stop paying you money is to start dating them. And the cascading effects on your reputation within the academy and your reputation as a business are so not worth it. And I don't say this from personal experience, because I learned this by watching it happen, obviously not by making this mistake myself, but it is one of the Achilles heels of gyms, is when you have a coach that does that. So that's my spiel on retention.